Hey, what's going on, guys? Chris with SBC. Today we're going to be talking about what I think are absolute requirements for your thermostat setup, why I feel that way. I'm also going to tell you about how these requirements saved this girl's life right here. This is my Hypo Jungle, and she is 100% het for blood. Her name is Mahogany, and she was produced in 2023 by Jason's Exotic Reptiles, and I've had her for the last 2 years. She is an awesome animal, and let's go ahead and get into this. Alright, so one of the things that I believe is a absolute requirement with your thermostat setup is going to be having one thermostat probe for every single enclosure. And the reason why I feel like that is because I have the peace of mind of knowing that if anything goes wrong, if the heating gets too high or it gets too low on every single one of my enclosures, then I will know about it. There are a lot of DIY people who are teaching daisy chaining heat mats together, running multiple thermostats for one probe, and I just don't think the risk is worth it. I don't see the value in it. Saving a couple bucks by having 2 or 3 less thermostats is not worth the value of a $300, $500, or even some people's cases thousands of dollar animals if you have a malfunction on one of those heat mats. If one of those heat mats malfunctions on the circuit and you don't have a probe on it to catch it, then you might just lose an animal. You know, it might either get too cold and they suffer health complications that way, or it gets too hot and you have an animal burn up. All right, requirement 2 and 3 are kind of gonna wrap into each other here. If you have a thermostat that is being used for reptiles, I believe that you need a thermostat that's going to have a high and a low temperature alarm. Something that's going to audibly ring if it goes 3 degrees too high or 3 degrees too low. That way you can hear it in the next room and you can give it human intervention as soon as possible. Guys, it's 2026. This is requirement 3. Make sure that you have a thermostat that connects to Wi-Fi. It is invaluable. If you are out and about spending time with your family and all of a sudden the notification on your phone goes off that lets you know, hey, my high temperature alarm is going off. Temperatures are getting too hot. And you can give it that human intervention away from home. And then have somebody go over there and unplug the thermostat or unplug the heat source if for whatever reason your intervention can't work from where you're at the time. You can get to it as soon as possible. You know about it even whenever you're not home. I think these are the 3 main requirements that you absolutely have to have for your thermostats. I know that these requirements, they might seem minor. Maybe I could skip out on the Wi-Fi, or maybe I could skip out on the high alarm or the low alarm, or maybe I could daisy chain it. I promise you it's not worth it. These requirements absolutely saved my girl's life here. When I was going to the mechanic shop, it was last week, when I was going to the mechanic shop, all of a sudden my phone started ringing. I had just left the house, you know, probably 10 minutes prior, and then my high temperature alarm starts going off on my phone in my pocket. Pulled it out, I looked at it, and sure enough, the temperatures are going up too high. First time it happened, it went like 3 degrees higher than the set point, and then it would drop back down. all the way down to its start point. And then it would start back up, and it would heat. And this time it went like 6 or 7 degrees higher than the stop point. And it was at that point that I realized, okay, there is definitely a malfunction happening. I'm not at home to be able to address this problem. So what I did was I went into the app, and you can change the start temps and stop temps. Where you want your thermostat to start heating, where you want your thermostat to stop heating. And I basically turned the start temp all the way down to 30F degrees, and then the stop temp at 40F. Basically, I knew that the room was never going to drop down to 30 degrees Fahrenheit in the room. So I effectively turned off the thermostat. The next time that the heating swapped off, it went all the way down to like 77 degrees. It didn't turn back on. And whenever I got home, I was able to do some troubleshooting. I was like, well, maybe it's the probe. Maybe the probe was just wrong, and it was reading the temperatures wrong. And the probe was good. The heat pad was good. And it was actually the thermostat. The thermostat had a failure point where it wasn't shutting off at the temperature that it was supposed to shut off at right away. It was continuing to send voltage to the heat mat. And, well, I was able to address that as soon as possible. If you have a problem with your thermostat, you're going to want to be able to address that as soon as possible. And I think that those 3 requirements are the main thing. You know, make sure that you have a probe that is regulating every single heat source. Make sure that you have that high and that low temperature alarm. Make sure that you have something that's compatible with Wi-Fi, so that way you know about it even after you leave the house. The Wi-Fi one specifically, I thought, maybe I could have probably skipped out on that one. Invaluable. It was invaluable in this time period because it doesn't take long, man. All of a sudden, my enclosure could have been 120 degrees, 130 degrees, and my boa could have gotten cooked. You know, if you have a reptile that's being regulated by a thermostat, which you should, make sure that you have these 3 requirements. I hope this video helps you guys out. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, send it to somebody else who could use this information. I appreciate it. Until next time, happy keeping.